I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I have a couple of additions. Nothing we have to vote on, but we're adding, because our minutes from our special meeting last night were prepared and ready to go, we're going to add the minutes from our December 6th meeting with the Planning Commission. And then some letters came in, and they were in regards to our meeting last night, so I'm adding them to correspondence for information. There's a letter from Ronald and Joanne Tier and regarding parking in West Dummerston Village. And there was a letter from Windham Regional Commission regarding Scott Farm and the Act 250 process that's going under. And with that, we could go on, and we have the minutes from November 22nd, the 29th, and now December 6th.
I'll move we approve minutes for November 22nd, 29, and December 6th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will approve the 22nd and 29th minutes. But
right.
since I did
You
not
have-
attend
you
last
weren't
night's meeting, I will abstain with respect to that,
Okay.
the approval of those minutes.
Certainly, I should have caught that. Yep.
Okay.
All right, then we'll carry those minutes on to the next meeting.
Yeah.
We have, under bills for payment, we have warrant 12, the payroll, 12P. We have a mowing bill for the cemetery committee, number 2. And we have the, from the capital fund, number 4.
I'll move we approve for payment warrant 12, warrant 12P, cemetery committee number 2, and capital fund number 4.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All right, so warrant 12 is for a total of $8,132. And that's mostly mowing. There's $477 from Fisher and Fisher. Most of that is from our zoning administrator had questions. There are payroll transfers, some tires for a truck, gravel, an ad in the Commons for the Wikipedia Hill speed change, and postal service. So, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So then, we have Keith Clark from the Windham County Sheriff's Department here. And you want to come up?
Thanks for taking time to join us too,
No,
because I'm
thanks.
sure it's a busy time of year for all of you.
It is, but it's also it's not the busiest time of year for us. So we like talking to the towns, early during the budget process instead of, it's really get close to the end. Like you're trying to get it done, and somebody calling like, "Oh, we have a question."
Yeah.
And then it seems like those all come at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you should have received a letter from us around the first part of November with our
Yeah.
rates for next
Yeah.
year.
Right.
It was very public knowledge earlier this year. We sharpened it, really looked at what it was costing us to run our office. And that really came to light around our court contract. As it was been reported, we no longer provide security to courts because they couldn't cover my costs. We knew that over a period of time we were losing money. It was a large contract, almost $250,000, but it was costing us about $320,000 a year to service that contract. You can't run a business that way. We were losing money. So after looking at that, we started looking at everything and said, okay, what does it actually cost? Everything from dispatching right down to the uniforms. And so the rates that you have in front of you are those costs. There is an ability to save some money for the more hours that you contract, because it's economy of scale, because it takes less supervision. If someone has 40 hours, they tend to be a more experienced person, been to the what they call now the level 3 academy or full-time academy. There are people that we don't have to, they tend to take care of things and manage their own schedules. A little less supervision is needed and less oversight. So that's how we can save a little money there. I'm not saying that the town of Dummerston should do that. That's not what I'm saying. I think that, you know, at some point with the town of Dummerston, like a lot of towns that I'm talking to, should take a look at what do you really want for policing and how much are you willing to spend. And you know, I think right now it's about 20 hours a month.
Yes, 20 hours a month.
And I think there are times I wish that you had more hours in a month, and other times I think it's pretty close to what you need for the traffic flow that you have. And I'm not sure that there should be a big change this year in Dummerston. And maybe you have a different sense, but I'm not here to say tonight, you know, you should go to 40 hours a week. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that's good.
There are other towns that we are seeing a change in their population is changing, their demographics are changing. We're seeing different types of crimes are taking more time. We're saying, hey, you may want to take a look at, you know, doing more for providing for your own policing, and they're giving us some serious thought. But you know, you've been pretty steady for the last few years.
Yeah.
And again, it's up to what you think or what you're hearing from the town, whether you want more hours. I certainly don't advocate for less. I think it's you know, at times you need that 20 hours of service that we provide in a month. Like I said, there are times that, you know, we do get calls on which we could provide more. So
If we were to increase our hours modestly that we requested, you got the staff to cover it?
we do, as I said, you know, by not having the court contract, that freed up 6 people,
Yeah.
and 3 of those were level 3 certified. So it actually took the edge off us. We now have a good balance. I'm paying less in overtime, which is great for me,
right, yeah.
and we have people available to provide more consistent patrol time in all our towns, and more supervisions available, more support, and a lot less strain. So again, that freed up, well, actually it was 6 full-time, and often there was an additional 2 part-time that were filling in hours down there. So yeah, we now have the staff. We do have some major construction projects coming up next summer, but we're actually looking to start hiring some more per diem or part-time folks. We've actually started that process. So yeah, we'll have, if you wanted to increase your hours, we could easily. Now, if you say, you know, starting once like you wanted to go 40 hours a week.
Yeah, we're not going to increase that much.
I
I don't think I could sell that as much as I'd love to.
I would have to, I'd have to take a close look depending on what you wanted for those 40 hours. But you know, if you wanted to add, you know, 5 to 10 hours a month, we could easily absorb that right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that 20 hours most months or some months is adequate. There's other months that you'd like possibly a little more. What are the other months that generally would be? I'm just thinking overall, if there was 4 months and we wanted to add 6 hours, that's what I'm getting to.
Usually August, September, right around the end of summertime, beginning of the school year, we start to get calls, you know, mostly about speeding, some traffic issues. There's a jump there. And then in the springtime, I'd have to pull the records. It's been a while since I looked.
But it would be in the spring.
Yeah, there's, you know, one of the things that we did in one town is the way their contract was structured was, I think it was, you know, let's say it was 10 hours. And they set aside 2, just, you know, someone calls and they just, you know, we send someone over. If we don't use those 2 hours, we just put them on as patrol time the next month. So you immediately see it the next month. And then again, there's still that 2. And, you know, we don't save them all up and roll them over to the end of the year. So that may be a way to, you know, to say, okay, let's stay with the 20 hours a month, but let's set aside maybe 20 hours or 50 hours for the year. If we don't use it, you know, we don't charge you for it, you know, kind of thing. So we charge you the set rate per month, and then anything above that, if Steve, if you were to call and say, I really want you to spend, got this complaint over here, we think you guys would be the best to handle it, and we just bill you for the actual hours of doing that. Might be a way to start. So that way you're getting sort of a little bit of both. We're able to answer a few of those smaller calls. Those tend to be like the quality of life. Someone is just, I want someone to come figure out who ran over my mailbox. You know, they're just up, you know, it's a $20 mailbox.
Yeah.
You know, it'd almost be cheaper for the town to pay for
Just-
a new mailbox.
Yeah, don't say
versus
that.
But, you know, people want to know that someone followed up on
Yeah,
that.
exactly, yeah.
You know, or someone drove over someone else's lawn and, you know, kind of thing. Or, you know, they came home after work and found that someone took their weed whacker off their
Yeah.
porch. They just want to know someone did follow up. And, you know, we try to fit those. We do handle some of those. We say, look, you know, tomorrow we've already got a deputy scheduled to be in Dummerston for 4 hours. We'll just have him swing by.
Mm-hmm.
Spends 10 minutes getting, you know, the information, and then we can enter into the system. And that, you know, I think that's a good service to offer. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, we should be doing, you know, the criminal cases that take a lot of time. We
Right,
don't
yeah.
have the resources, and, you know, VSP does. You know, they have a criminal investigation division. They have this the specialty to do that, and that's what our tax money goes towards, state tax money.
Yeah.
But yet, they have a limited number of personnel, and I can understand why they triage, and they may not be able to come out and do those more quality of life calls.
You have a good, I don't mean to take over the
Go ahead,
discussion
keep going,
here.
keep
A
going.
lot of questions that have been in my mind. Do you have a good relationship? I know you used to when Paul was base commander. Do you have a good relationship with Lieutenant Oliver? Or?
I do.
Good.
I will tell you, though, I think Lieutenant Oliver, with the combination of two barracks, he's been very busy trying to, it's not easy to.
It's a big geographic area.
Big area. He took two very different barracks under one, and just, you know, moving into a new building. I don't know how he's able to do it with the hours he's putting in a week.
Yeah.
So I haven't. He and I haven't talked as much, but we do communicate. I don't live that far from the new barracks.
Yeah.
We talk on a fairly, you know, I won't say regular, but we do talk frequently when things pop up. So I think Tim and I have a good working relationship.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't see him quite as much as I used to see Lieutenant Favreau.
Yeah.
But I also haven't really pushed to further that relationship right now, as he's
So busy. Yeah.
he's really, I think he's got a lot going on. You know, he's got a, you know, he absorbed, you know, he went from running the Rockingham barracks to now really running two barracks out of one building.
Yeah.
You know, new supervisors, new staff, you know, the new PSAP centers in there. There's a lot going on, and I didn't want to bother him. I understand how difficult that can be. So I thought I'd let him get through the holidays and then start in January, give him a call. He says he'll buy me coffee. But
So I have one more question, if you indulge
go
me
ahead,
for
go-
one
go
more
ahead,
question.
go ahead.
One of our, other than speeding, one of our other complaints that we're running into is over in the West Dummerston Village with people parking in the travel portion of the road, and we're trying to wrestle with that through zoning, and I did talk to Lieutenant Oliver about the state police coming to have cars towed. Is that anything that you would be in your purview to help us have vehicles towed? I mean, he was very clear that if we have it posted and they're in the right, or if they're in the travel portion, he'll just come have them towed. But being that you're closer by and things, is that in your
yep.
purview too?
We could, if it was in your contract, we could even do it now,
Okay.
because there is the provision, you know, at the request of the board. So,
Okay.
you know, when we were in Townsend, the town of Townsend ordered parking tickets, and they had a parking ordinance. So my guys would just grab the tickets out of town and go write the tickets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then, if we needed to, we could tow. Particularly, you know, it's this time of year. You know, you
Right.
know, you don't want them out there when you're trying to plow.
Right.
Yeah, we can. You know, if you say, "Hey,
You
we've
could
got some
assist.
cars over, we can go down." Yeah, that we can. You know, and that's already in the contract. It's not specific for parking, but it says at the request of the board.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we certainly can do that. That's
Good.
Yeah, we've done that in other towns. It's not.
Okay.
It's not
That's
uncommon.
the end of what I had.
So do you have an ordinance, a parking ordinance?
We don't really. No, we don't. We're just relying on state statute that says if they're in
Can't
the
park
travel
the day,
portion,
right.
and the state police told us that we need to put signs out that said if they're parked in the travel portion, they're going to be towed. And then at that point, if we had signs that said that, they would gladly come down and arrange
Yeah, the
that,
signs
so-
make it easier.
Yeah.
But if you know suddenly you get a snowstorm, and there's cars out there, and your highway guys just need them out of the way, we can take care of that.
You can
Just-
help, okay.
Yeah.
And generally what happens, like you contact the wrecker service, they pull the car, and then the homeowner is responsible to pay, or the
Correct.
vehicle owner is responsible
Correct.
for the towing. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. That's what I understood.
What we try to do before they do that, you know, we run the place. We try to call people.
Oh, okay.
You know, we don't just run out there and say, you know, send me the next, you know, 5
Okay.
wreckers.
Okay.
I got 5 cars. We run the plates, see if we can find phone numbers,
Oh, okay.
and you know, it just saves a lot of hassle because nothing worse. You know, we call a tow truck out to tow a
Yeah,
car,
and
and the flashing yellow lights come on, and someone comes out and say, "That's my car."
Yeah.
Now, who's going to pay the tow truck operator?
Exactly.
He didn't actually tow the car.
Yeah.
And he's mad that you know.
Yeah.
And it just all it takes is a couple of minutes. You know, most we can track down probably. You know, when I was in Bells Falls, we did this all the time.
okay.
Probably 80 to 90% of the time, you can find a phone number, make a call, or you run the plate and it's the address right there. You just go bang on the door and
Yeah.
say, "You got to move your car,
Okay.
or we'll be towed." Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to hear this. Steve, do you know, is the state police willing to do that?
I didn't get that far into the discussion. I think the discussion is how would we get them towed, or what would be the process? And he just said, if the signs are there, we'll come down and get them towed. This,
Right.
this is a much more humane approach.
Well,
I'm not sure they would have the time. I shouldn't speak for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I shouldn't
Yeah.
say. I could follow up on that too, but
But I think that, you know, whoever the offenders are, you know, would much prefer this approach. And as you've said, you know, once or twice, you know, and
Is
you
it
know,
that they're parking there at night?
it's day and night.
Day.
Night, yeah. It's
Yeah.
and it's actually all year round. It's just we have a couple neighbors now that have just had enough and have filed complaints with the town.
Well, what I can do is I can let my folks know now. Like, hey, when you're headed south, just swing up through there, and if you say, just make a couple courtesy calls or stop by. Once people know that we're watching, that may be enough to get them to park off, get off the road. Particularly this time of year, you really don't want them out there.
Yeah, we really don't want to be damaging a vehicle with a
Right.
snowplow going by and rolling snow.
Yeah, and it does put people at risk.
Yeah.
And, we don't. So, yeah, I'll let my supervisor know as soon as I get home. I'll send an email to everybody if you're going down through there. And, maybe that will help. Just
Yeah. One quick thing, Mark Anderson has been great. I will tell you that anytime I email him with a concern
See,
or
what you should
board-
have done, Steve, you should have had was turn the camera off because Mark is going to see this. And
Well, I was going to compliment another person, and I said, geez, I don't want your payroll to go up too much.
All right.
Mark does a phenomenal
He's
job
been
for me.
excellent communicating with myself so that I can answer the questions of the board. So thank him for me.
Yeah, if you can't, Mark he speaks on my behalf. If whatever Mark says, I support. He and I meet on a regular basis. He would have been here tonight, but he's actually on his way back from Utah.
Oh,
He's driving back. He went to help a friend move back to this area. So when I last spoke or messaged him earlier today, he was in Indiana. So,
oh wow.
but
Cold
I
out there.
appreciate it, and I'll make sure that,
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that
thank
Mark
you.
knows that. Yeah, he does a great job.
I'm sorry, guys, that I.
Okay.
But I would have forgotten if I didn't stay on my roll.
You want to catch your breath just for a minute? We have a parking ordinance model that we got from VLCT, and we're going to talk about that at our next meeting. But maybe I'll send you a copy just to have you
Yep.
look through it, and if
I'll
there's
take a look, and if I have any feedback, I'll let you know.
yeah, if there's any problem or if you think
Yeah.
there's
Maybe,
something that will make it better.
This is the best email to
Okay,
reach me at.
great. And then we had some letters from residents. They had several suggestions that they'd like to do, and I wonder if we could just pass those. We'll keep copies and deal with them. But
Should we just email them a copy?
sure, yeah.
If you want to just scan and email them to me,
Yeah,
I'll
or we
take
could
a
give
look.
him the hard copy now, and we can just print out another copy from our email.
Maybe we'll your visit, and I'll see if I can.
yeah, I can just run them around the corner and do that if you like.
Yeah. Well, we got an assistant that might help us.
It's under the highway. Keep going. We have a new person filing. It's been
And it clearly isn't me.
there. Those ones. So,
Here, I'll turn the.
okay.
I was thinking it was under correspondences, but
Um,
do that, but we could just print out some new ones. How about that?
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Or if they came into you via email, you can just forward them to me.
All right,
Email.
I'll do that.
I don't need necessarily
Sure,
to take them tonight.
I'll do that later tonight. That's fine.
That's
Great.
probably the easiest
And you're gonna
way.
take care of that.
Saves,
Yep.
It saves a tree.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good idea.
And
All
the
right.
upside of that is I can then forward it to my supervisors for follow-up.
Okay.
And they
Yeah.
again, it's just, we try to use technology to our advantage. Bad
Yes.
guys use it for their advantage.
Yeah,
We
right,
try to
yeah.
use it for ours.
So there's this one, but wasn't there another one also from somebody that has been had frequent correspondence with us?
Put my glasses on. Oh, yeah, there's some, yeah.
well, we can
we'll
just,
find-
we'll forward them, yeah.
I'll forward them. That's
So
the
rather than
best
having
thing.
Keith wait for us to get
And if they're all in
organized.
hard copies, just let me know that they're written, and I can swing by here and pick them up.
No, we can, they're all on email, I
Yeah.
think we
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Okay.
It'd be easy to forward.
Piece of
Yeah.
cake, right.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
thought of anything else?
that's all I had, and I appreciate you coming to see us, I know
Yeah.
that.
Anytime.
Joe?
No, I especially appreciate your willingness to reach out to, some of the offenders, because it's, better than, you're right, better than towing them and,
Well, the other thing is, it would be documented. Like, we warned you twice. We
Yeah.
stopped by your house, and now you got a 12-inch snowstorm, and we couldn't reach you. You can't say that you didn't know.
Yeah,
you
Right.
know, and
Yeah.
it sort of reduces their ability to complain. If you
Yeah.
told them a couple of times, again, some other towns, we worked with a town to have some warnings printed up. It's winter parking. Really can't. And we just put them out in cars, and we can post on our Facebook page, and we can help get that word spread. If it's again, if that's something that you think might be helpful, we certainly can do that.
great.
Just a couple updates.
Yeah.
You may have seen in the paper. The county has approved some funds to purchase body cams. This has been a question that some other towns have asked. Are we going to go to those? Initially, I didn't think I would be able to come up with the funds, but we've been able to save some money through the county side this year, and the county approved for us to do that. The bids are due in on no later than Saturday, so Monday we'll open the bids, and we're hoping to actually have those out on the road by mid-January. To include, we're going to have some training provided by the vendor. We actually have already developed a policy. Our state's attorney, Tracy Shriver, has agreed to have her office do some training around some of the legal issues. But we think it's going to be very beneficial to my office and to the public. It brings us really up to the 21st century policing, and it also becomes a training tool to say to the deputy, "Hey, I reviewed this tape, and I think, hey, you did this well. You could have done this better." It helps resolve complaints, and when people know they're being videotaped,
yeah,
not just officers but the public, they tend to stay calmer.
yeah.
Right,
And
right.
so I think it's going to be very beneficial for us to do that. We still have the program we call Are You Okay? It's typically for elderly folks that live alone. Right now, our dispatchers live call every morning. They have a list. They call and say, "Are you okay?" And yep, fine. Hang up, or they engage in a conversation for a couple minutes. We have an electronic system that we've purchased that we're field testing right now. So it will allow us to put more people on it, and we're hoping that will go live right around the first of the year. And so the other part of that is we can also use that same system to do mass notifications. We can put it, people want to be notified of stuff going on. Winter parking bans are now in effect. We would be able to do it through the same system. So again, this cheap technology was, and we're not going to charge you extra to do that. The Are You OK program doesn't really cost anything. We've had a couple of saves since I've been the sheriff where people didn't answer their phone or didn't sound quite right when dispatch called, and we sent rescue or a contact person over and got them help right away. So it does save lives. So if you know someone that is elderly, living alone, and you just want someone to check on them once a day, it's a simple phone call from our office.
So you know Dawn Hubbard.
Yep, Dawn, I do. Her office is right next to mine.
Okay, so she's our emergency management director, and she would probably have a list of people that might want to be on that. So
Yeah, I'll talk
if
to
she doesn't know about that program already, then
She should know.
Yeah.
All right.
As you know, Dawn works for me. She's
Yeah.
my coordinator for the electronic monitoring
Right,
program
yeah.
that we're expanding, and she's worked for me for over 2 years now. Does a great job, and so I had forgotten that she had come back here to be the emergency management director, so I'll let her know.
Great.
So again, those are just a couple of things that we're doing that we've offered all along. But Are You Okay? We weren't necessarily out promoting it because it sort of became a little drain on dispatch having to make live calls every day. But now we're going to an electronic system. Folks that currently get live calls will be able to opt in or out, which they prefer, but new people it would just go to electronic.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, it calls them and it'll say, hey, if you're okay, press 1. They press 9, well, we know there's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Or they don't answer at all.
Yeah.
We send people to check on them.
Mhm.
So I think it's a nice way to just let people know that, hey, we'll take care of you. Just give us your phone number. That's all we need. And so if you know someone that may benefit from that, and I certainly will talk to Don.
Great. Good.
You mentioned getting these cameras. I'm curious, do you know, or do the state police have any plans to do that?
The state police have looked into them. They've even tested a couple of versions. For them, it's a cost. It's not necessarily the cost of the cameras. It's the long-term cost of the storage of the videos. For them, you're 250 plus or minus field personnel. It'd be significantly more than for me.
Sure.
We're going to actually run our own storage, not use a commercial one. We can save a little money, but we don't think we'll have the same volume. I think the last estimate I saw from the state police somewhere around $3 million for them to roll them out, and they're hoping that the legislature will fund it this year. So they're looking. Dover PD, or on the western part of the county, they already have them. Don't know if Wilmington does. Brad PD is considering them, and Bellows Falls is in the same boat. They're considering them.
Mhm.
I think at some point, probably in the next year, 2 at the latest, every officer in Vermont will be wearing them. There was recently a shooting involving an officer up in Winooski, and multiple officers had body cams that caught that shooting, and that's what cleared the officer. Even though the person wasn't armed, he pretended like he was, and that had made threats and was known to carry a gun, and his behavior, when you watch on tape, the prosecutor felt that the officer had every reason to believe his life was in danger. So again, it benefits everyone when those are available.
Sure.
And I figured, we have the opportunity to do it now, and we've started that process.
Yeah.
And there are some concerns, but I think we can work through those around some privacy issues. If Steve's collapses in his home, and my officer's going on a medical assist, and they're recording, and someone says, "Hey, that's public record." Technically, it would be. Does Steve want everybody to know what the inside of his home looks like, and the fact that he collapsed and he wasn't wearing any clothes at the time? Does he want that on?
Yeah, that
YouTube?
wouldn't be a pretty sight.
So those are some of the concerns. Should that actually be, released? And I think those are the things that the legislature is also struggling with. Should we have the ability to redact, certain images that really nothing more than embarrassing, or have some sort of review process before they're released?
Mm-hmm.
And those are some of the things that
Yeah.
we'll work through, and the legislature's working through those too. But for those couple of minor reasons, I don't think it should prevent us from putting them out on the road. So,
Good.
again, at any
Great.
point, feel free to reach out to me or
Yeah.
Mark. Mark certainly
Yeah.
can speak on my behalf. He had planned on being here tonight, but
Yeah.
then he ended up helping a friend drive back, and I was able to be here. So, again, any questions, you can always reach out.
Very good.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Have a great holiday season.
Yes, you too.
Stay safe.
Thanks for coming to see us.
You're very
Thanks very much.
Good night.
Have a nice night.
Okay, let's see. Well, I'll take that road foreman's report, and Lee not here. Under the road foreman's report, we did get 2 letters this week. One from Kevin Ryan, just commending Lee Chamberlain and the entire highway crew for the great condition the roads are in, even with the heavy rains last week. So he's just appreciating the efforts and expertise of the road crew and their foremen. And from Richard Foley on Canoe Brook Road, thanking Lee and the crew and the town for taking care of drainage problem that was over there on Canoe Brook Road.
And I should mention, I responded to his email just to say thanks, and we really
Yeah.
appreciate that, because, people don't say thanks enough, I'm afraid.
Right, right.
That's a nice gesture on his part.
Yes, on both his part and Kevin Ryan's part.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, then moving on. Under correspondence for information, we got from VLCT the unemployment contribution for the coming year. Let's see. Budget request, annual reports from the Connecticut River Joint Commission, letters on traffic, the letter from Ronald and Joanne Tier regarding parking over on West Street, and that was brought up at the meeting last night with the Planning Commission. Anything you want to discuss in detail there? Okay, then moving on to correspondence for discussion and/or action. This seems like we've already done this, but our zoning administrator, Kathleen Hathaway, has tendered her resignation. Did we actually accept her resignation last week?
I don't believe we
I don't believe that we did.
Okay,
I'd have-
all right.
Yeah.
So, I was just wondering if I'd forgotten that we had. So,
I would move that we accept her resignation with regret.
second, okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And I can let her know that we've accepted it with regret. We got a letter from Southern Vermont Economic Development. What's the last S? Southern Vermont. SPEDS is what we call them.
Yep.
And they are asking to be added to or included in our budget or warned as a town meeting article. And they're requesting $3 per person in Dummerston, or a total of $5,592. I just wondered, I sort of like the Social Services Advisory Committee sort of goes through organizations and looks, does a little background. You know, we've had representatives who came and talked with us fairly recently, but I expected to be able to get some information off the internet, and was, because they're part of the Brattleboro Development
Yeah.
Corporation, maybe that was why I couldn't find specifically them. But I sort of had some questions that I wanted to ask them before we brought it to a vote.
Yeah, I'd like a little time to, I could think, look into it. I mean, really the only thing I know much about is what little bit they come and spoke with us.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do a little research on them to see what benefit, we're reaping in Dummerston from their programs, and before we invest too heavily in
Yeah, I mean, it's really a budget matter, but if you look around the towns that are supporting them, we're surrounded by towns that are. I mean, I think I saw Brattleboro, Newfane, Putney, Vernon, Guilford, and I'd like us to take a look at this. And I don't know if I mean, I would prefer to get something in the budget if we should agree, and we can talk about the amount. But I mean, I think that the economy is a real problem, and it's important to attract and keep jobs locally. And I think that this is, they recognize that, and they're they're trying to do something about it, and it's a regional economy, and I guess I would hope that we're able to do something.
Okay, and I know Geraldine, I think, is familiar with their work, but shall we look into trying to get more information?
Yeah, could we maybe take it up
Next
at
time?
another meeting? Yeah.
Sure.
I don't feel comfortable voting on $5,900 or
No.
$5,500 without a little bit more background information.
No, I certainly wasn't suggesting that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you want to table it to the next budget meeting or the next regular meeting?
how about next regular meeting?
Yeah, I think the budget meeting's gonna be pretty busy.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're willing, we'll move on. Unfinished business, we have a contract from, for the Windham Solid Waste Management District Solar Project contract, and it's Hugh Warden, who's not here. I wonder, do you think if I just close my eyes and reach for a folder?
You might have as much luck as anything.
I actually printed it out.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I understand it's been vetted by the Energy Committee also.
Yes, yeah. So and we did vote to approve it last time. Oh, that's it. Maybe? Yes, look. In my foresight, I even put a little tag here. So we,
So you could find it.
yeah. So we already voted last time to approve this, and we were just waiting to get the contract. We sort of looked through the contract to make sure it's good, we have an out.
Yeah, as long
And,
as we have an out.
yep. So, let's just sign it. Okay. And it just needs one signature, so I'll go ahead and sign it for the town. All right, so I don't know if that's signed in the right place, but we'll be here if it's not. Okay, so next, an update on the zoning administrator and select board assistant position search.
Well, I drafted the ad, which I understand was submitted to the Commons, but it made me think if we shouldn't also be trying to get it into the views for the next issue.
That's a good idea.
When is that? April, March?
Oh, no, they have,
It would be in February.
February.
So it's
Yeah.
gotta be something submitted, I think, mid-January maybe?
They have a pretty,
There's some
Yeah.
sitting right out here. Do you want me to grab one?
Yes, please.
do you want to take care of?
sure.
Yes, and it was a nice job on that
Well, thank you.
ad.
Um,
It went into the front porch form, so that's getting more,
January 10th.
okay, subscribers. Actually, I'll trade you if you want to do the report for the,
The town report.
and it appeared in the Commons today, so. So if the phone rings over there, Maria,
Grab it
Grab
quick.
it fast.
I looked on the town's website also, and I think that we have the things in a little bit different format, and I'm wondering if we could also get it on the website. Who would we
you
take
could,
care of that?
let's see, you could ask Lori, but I think it's Kevin Ryan that,
I'm going to send it to Kevin.
yeah.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's,
It might pay to just ask Lori first, just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
save Kevin the.
Okay.
Because I know, like the minutes, it works good to go through Lori, and she seems very happy to
Yeah.
do it.
Yes.
I would at least ask.
I will ask
yeah.
Lori
let's
to
do
ask
that.
Kevin. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. So, other unfinished business, we have the parking issues on West Street. And we had a meeting with the Planning Commission and some DRB members last night. And I thought we made some progress. I'm thinking an approach we should take would be to, as I mentioned to the sheriff, the town doesn't have a parking ordinance. And, it's a fairly simple process to approve one, and VLCT has a model ordinance, and we could fill this in, make it more Dummerston, fill in the blanks, and we would, the process would be, we would discuss this and vote on it at an open meeting, a regularly warned meeting, and post it in 5 different places around town and publish in a newspaper with local circulation the important parts of the ordinance. The public would have up to 44 days to petition to challenge it or hold it invalid. After that, if that doesn't happen 60 days from its adoption, it would take effect. So.
And I'm just curious, Zeke, and I know this is just a model,
Yeah.
but it does have something specific concerning the winter parking. Is your thought that we don't include that provision? I mean, this is
I think ours would be
a
year round.
right?
Maybe it's down below. There's another section that is particulars or something, and that might be where we address particularly with parking
Right.
in West
yeah,
Street.
yeah.
But that's a good model to start from. I think. Was
I
Zeke's
think they've
point,
done
yeah.
a lot of,
Yeah.
saved us a couple of months of
Yeah.
work.
And I think we need to come up with a. I mean, there's enough. There's really 2 issues going on here. Number one, there's the complaint that's filed about parking that doesn't meet the permits, but there's also generalized parking on the road, and so I think it's incumbent on us to deal with both. And I think this gives us a process to get a parking ordinance, but I think it should be year round. But we definitely would key on a couple areas that we have issues right now. I think it's good. I think
Yeah.
Jake got a good idea. We just have to tweak it to our concerns. And I think with this and with if the sheriff would be willing to help us like he suggested, I think that would be a great start. And I think it's great to document that we maybe warned somebody a couple times before the car physically disappeared. I mean, it's a big enough issue. We need to move forward and do something.
Yes. So I can. Well, this is on the VLCT website.
Yeah.
And so, or we can make copies before we leave, and then you can work on it if you have any.
And you this is your search, the VLCT model. Yep.
Yep. And we can then, put it on the agenda for our December, 21st meeting. So.
I mean, if you'd like, I can take a stab at it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I was hoping. Yeah.
I sort of liked the winter parking. I thought that was a good thing. But it says public right of way, and I think that would be a
Yeah, I think we're looking more at travel portion.
portion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not looking at just nighttime. We're looking at. My idea would be we'd be looking at more than just nighttime, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's one of our issues, which is a generalized parking problem, and so then I guess the other thing is what would be your suggestion with the complaint that we have filed relative to the permits? I mean, do we need to contact our zoning administrator and see where she's at?
I think that would be good.
And then possibly we'd have to contact our attorney.
Yeah, she's given notice,
Yeah.
so she's here for a few more days, I think. I think it'd be good to meet with her. She has been in touch, as we said earlier,
Right, yeah.
with warrants, with the town attorney. It would be great, I think, to find out what questions were asked.
So we weren't getting charged again for us to ask the
Yeah,
same question.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
So-
But weren't Geraldine and Hugh going to talk with her?
A little exit interview.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Not
think,
relative to this particular thing.
right, right.
I think that would be probably, I'd like to see Zeke, if you had time, visit with her. Because I just think it should come from you.
Yeah, and
On,
also,
on this issue, this is different than what.
right,
you would
I'd like
do.
to get Charlotte involved
Yeah.
too, just
Yeah,
because
for history.
historically
Yeah.
she was, might have been the zoning administrator when some of these permits were
Mhm.
issued initially, and we just have to figure out what permit is in place right now, and what are the parking stipulations that were part of the conditional use permit for these buildings. And then we've got to pay a visit and see what, the parking situation actually is.
And I would like, Joe, if it was all right with you and Zeke, to maybe do more general research, like with the state fire marshal. What is the state fire marshal's involvement? I don't even know what his involvement is with bed and breakfasts or things like this. What is the permit process with him? So I would like, if you didn't mind, to get some background information about what the procedure is that they have to follow.
Yeah, there's been a lot of chatter about this in the real estate bar, and whenever there's a change of use in a property, you're supposed to get an inspection from the fire marshal. Often that hasn't happened in the past, but there's liability issues for
Right.
those involved if it doesn't happen. By change of use, if it goes from a single family residence to another single family residence, that's not a change of
Right.
use.
Right.
But if it goes from a residence to a rental or something like a B&B, there is supposed to be an inspection.
I think my research would be more general in terms of all the B&Bs in town. What is the procedure with the fire marshal, so that we would know. But it then would come back down to particularly these instances too, if that's all right with you guys. I think that's background information we ought to have.
Yeah, because the question came up quite a few
Yeah.
times. And it seems like on the zoning side of it, there is a zoning bylaw that pretty much covers parking, but it's really the time to enforce it or is when there's a change of use. That's what my take on it was. Is that
That was my take also.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things I'd like to follow up on is part of the discussion last night, Joe, was if something pre-existed zoning, and I guess my thought might be if somebody has a house that didn't meet the zoning setbacks prior to zoning, then that would be a pre-existing condition. But if somebody parks their car on the road, I don't know if that's a zoning pre-existing condition. So I would like to research that a little bit. Clearly you're not going to pick the house up and move that 30 feet. But a vehicle, I'm not sure that would, and I'd like to check with the league and see if a vehicle would be, where they park would be a pre-existing, is that?
Well, but are you talking about them parking in the traveled portion or not?
I think it's a bigger question than that, but that's part of it, yeah. In other words, the discussion last night, one of the points was that, geez, they used to park here before zoning, so they should be able to park here now. When we were discussing this section 620 or whatever, which addressed parking. And so then the comment was made, well, if they parked there before, that pre-existed zoning. So I just would like to get the league's input on that. If I understand you're not going to move your house, but a car you could pretty easily move 10 feet.
I think that'd be fine.
Again, it's just for
Yeah.
more general research, not.
Yep.
Okay.
So you don't have much work going on now? Or
It's
you
going to
on
be cold
vacation?
next week, so I want to be
Oh, okay.
inside
All
for
right.
a day.
All right.
I just feel like we always pass this off to you, and I'm trying to help you.
Oh, thank you. So we're gonna work on this ordinance, we'll have it on our agenda for next week. And you're gonna work on it. Anyone else is welcome to. Let's see,
It's going to be on for next week.
not next week,
Yeah,
the
the following week,
21st.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll send a copy to the sheriff for his input.
Now, would we send him a copy of what we?
Let's see.
This is kind of irrelevant because this might not be what we were.
Yeah,
We should send him a copy of what we
I would think,
propose.
I don't know, maybe
If
That
he
would slow
has-
it down, though, wouldn't it?
yeah, so let's send him this
Yeah, okay.
copy. If he's got some comments, we can incorporate them before the meeting
Yeah.
or at the meeting. Let's try it, take that approach.
Okay.
Rather than wait another 2 weeks beyond that.
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess after, I mean, I'll do the initial draft, and I don't have his email address, but, you can
I'll send
forward
it to you.
him. Yeah.
Mhm. Good. Okay, so do you want to continue on or anything more on parking? Do you want to work on the budget a little?
Well-
I'm thinking we're down two, and,
Yeah.
There are some things that we could handle real quickly. Like last night, the planning commission passed their budget. They basically level
Really?
funded straight through,
Okay,
so we could add them.
that sounds
And we
good.
had some workman's, just some little things, Joe, that would.
okay, sure, that's fine.
And then we had workman's comp figures,
Yep, okay,
which we're not going to be able to negotiate. That's what they are.
yeah,
I did put in all the
non-discretionary.
planning commission numbers.
You did, right?
Okay, so that, oh, good, right. So we're getting pretty, I think we're right about on schedule. Next, on the 21st, we should have mowing bids back in. Let's see, we need to get the insurance, VLCT insurance for the West Dummerston Volunteer Fire Department. Although, if you were to look at the numbers over the past several years, you probably have a pretty good guess what that's going to be. We've got the building loan repayment that we could pencil in. We might want to change it because it's based on the entire 175,000, and I'm not sure what the fundraising total is right at the moment.
Is that something we could
Yep.
get for next meeting,
Yep,
though, to
yep.
know roughly where we are?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
The other big one is traditionally we have the winter maintenance. Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry, I kind of went to the highway. That's what
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like. I skipped.
County tax, I don't know why we haven't heard from them yet, so
Zeke,
I'll look into that.
up front, did you mention things like health insurance?
Oh, right, we should probably, I've got some numbers for that, but don't think I've brought them in. I want to actually talk with Putney. They have a similar program. I just want to run past some numbers with them and see what they're doing this year. We've already, because the insurance calendar doesn't match our fiscal calendar, we've already enrolled, re-enrolled for the coming year. But that's just for the premiums. We have, in addition to the premiums, we have a health savings account, a health reimbursement account, and let's see, what else? So, that's additional. So I'd like to see what Putney is doing.
And at this point, we know who's going to be on the plan, right?
Yes. Although, if we thought we did. We don't really know if we increase the hours of the treasurer. That was brought up last time. That might change it, but I can look into that. And maybe I said that last time that I would look into it, but
Well, weren't we talking about increasing it? Was it from 20 or?
no, it was increasing from 15 to 20 hours for treasurer, but she's also a lister.
And how many hours is that?
Do you remember off the top of your head? It
10 hours, I thought, but
the listers are 340 hours per year per lister. And that comes out to... Are you doing that in your head?
Is that about 8 or?
No, around 7.
7? So, okay, so it's just a little under. So probably I think we're going to be at 5.
the issue was and then you add the reappraisal hours, then
Yeah.
it got closer.
Yeah,
That was the issue.
right. Okay.
Well, and as well, if if she were to serve as interim zoning, until we get somebody that.
Yeah, she's hoping we can get someone. She's not wild about being...
I understand.
Yeah. But probably, it's all coming back now. But I think she would want to be on her husband's insurance. So it may just be, okay,
Payment in lieu.
yeah, not the full. That's what we might be talking about. So that's a little up in the air. Let me get some more information and we can talk about, I'll try to have it for our next Tuesday budget session.
It'd be nice if we could start winding this down so we weren't
Yeah,
having to meet every week.
yes,
So that payment in lieu that is penciled, or no, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong line. Okay.
yep, that's the
Yep, got it.
unemployment. And that's, given what I promise you by May we won't be having to do this.
Well, I was really hoping a little sooner than that, but
Well, we'll work and see if we can get it, done by April. Do you want to, you had a question about the highway?
well, I was hoping that I remembered before that we used to be able to get a total, and then we talked about the raises, and then so we had different proposals of if we had a 1% raise, a 2% raise, 3% raise.
Yeah.
And I wondered if that's something Charlotte could have ready for us
Mm-hmm.
next time.
Right.
We generally talk at this point about if there's going to be raises, and we need to know what each percentage of raise would affect this
Right. Yes.
dollar amount. So that would be nice to have next
Yeah.
meeting.
Plus it affects the retirement. Yeah. If there's this.
Maria, you mentioned at I think it was maybe a budget meeting, something I'd said about the cost of living, and I had occasion to, go back and take a look at that. And the inflation rate for the last year, was 1.6%. It's I think it's 1.3%, year to date, if you will. But going forward, the cost of living is increasing at 1.6%.
Well, what was you had given us a 2.9,
2.4 or
2.4.
2.6, yeah.
and what was that?
I think that was a mistake. I think.
Okay.
But I think the Social Security increase is only 0.3%.
It's not very much.
Yeah.
So.
So I think that 1.6% is something we should work with. That's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
1 point.
1.6.
Okay. or, yeah, so how about we could start with that, we could do a 2%, 2.5.
Sure.
And a 3
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and so we could probably take, our budget figures. I'll ask Charlotte, but we could probably take our budget figures from fiscal year 17 and just multiply them by, those 3 different percentages and try to.
We can't extrapolate year to dates don't help us much.
No.
I'm just looking the actual, for instance, in 16 was 90,000 and we budgeted 74.
Mhm. But then again, the winter wages, we budgeted 112,000 in 16 and only used
It's 74.
74, so
Okay.
we sort of came out ahead.
Yeah, actual and budget were within $1,400 or something. Yeah, totals on the entire highway maintenance. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we don't have an answer to my question then, really.
Okay. So this is something we could have ready for our next meeting, I think, on the 13th, right?
Yeah, it's the next big thing. I mean, we got quite a bit to do here, and we haven't started any of our income sides.
Right. So once we get those wages, then we can then get, the FICA and Medicaid, the retirement. I'll get that health insurance information. We still need to get some insurance policies in, and and we need to get from the auditors, the typist for the town report. So a few things we can have ready for next session.
Has the Social Services Committee been invited?
Yes, and I sent you the emails with Cindy Jerome. They're going to come on the 27th. They were invited, they sent an email saying they were ready. They were invited to our meeting on the 13th. That didn't work for them, so the 27th would be
Okay.
the next one. So, yes, but then we've got to get going on the revenue.
Right.
So.
I thought we were doing good, but it seems like we're starting to fall behind. If we can get all this done, then we.
Yeah.
Because generally we're working on the revenue side. I thought before Christmas, before early January, generally, but starting on it, be close.
We're close.
Yeah.
We're not.
But there's a lot of big expenses, insurance and the FICA and the workman's comp and all
Yeah.
that's got to be
So I'll.
found out. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll come in maybe tomorrow and see if I can get find out when we can expect those to come through. Is there any other business? You want to keep hacking away?
No,
at this?
I'll move we adjourn. I think that's a pretty good night.
I'll second that.
An hour and we still got a lot done.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.